Welcome back to our series with TK from the Talking League podcast, where he gives us his advice about picking our starting fantasy lineups.
So the guy I'm thinking at the moment is probably Isaac Thompson. The back line I want to be playing on is the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Like at that price, if you're going to be playing for, if you're going to be right wing for the South Sydney, you're going to be racking up tries.
Yeah.
And that's the type of cheapies that I want.
All right, so we've locked that in, and at $3.19, that's a great price, so that helps us. We've got at least one position covered. So now, do we start looking at bench?
So I think maybe we've got to go a little bit more top heavy.
Okay.
So that means that we've got to pick a mid. So we've got two choices here. Do we go with another big mid in a really big price range? We've got two probably that really spring to mind, and that's probably Pat Carrigan.
Yeah.
And also Ruben Cotter.
And Pat Carrigan, talk about him a bit, because I know you're a big fan of him.
We got lucky last year, I think, Paulie, because at the end of last year, like his origin was so good that they didn't manage him correctly.
Yeah.
So he came out of it pretty burnt out.
Yeah.
And the stats that we saw early in the season just didn't produce back into the back end.
Yeah.
So I think his average is a little bit lower. Again, I know that he's played World Cup, but he didn't play a huge role in the World Cup.
Yes.
So I'm not hugely concerned.
He's still young.
Great defence. His ball playing's underrated. And I think Adam Reynolds goes to another level when he's on the field as well. So,
an option.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's an option.
Right there, the other option.
Ruben Cotter, and what an absolute gun. My only concern is that hamstring trouble that he had last year. And then at the start of the year, like he again was injured as well. So,
good price.
Yep.
Loses his dual position, of course.
He does.
He was lucky to have it last year, to be fair. But yeah, just the injury concern. Does that sway you to Carrigan, who's a tiny bit cheaper as well?
Yeah, we've got to save as much money as we can, right, Paul? So I think maybe lock him in, and then we save, what, a good nearly 30K there.
Yes.
And we get a quality mid. So we know that we're going to be getting consistency week in, week out, and that's just value. Even at 700K, value for money for mine.
Great. Two mids locked in. We can always move Brandon Smith there as well. Are we going a third? Are we going back to our halves, our wing fullbacks?
I like the suggestion of the halves.
Great.
So going to the top of the list, I think one of the things that I think you should probably avoid for round one is having both Cleary and Hines.
Yeah.
Because essentially, if you put both of them in there, you're going to just literally have 20% of your salary cap on two players.
Yeah.
So the next guy on the list is Cameron Munster. Again, very high. I think if you go down the Cameron Murray route, I think he would be a perfect gun half to actually have, because he's a little bit cheaper. He's actually statistically better than both Nicho Hines and Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
Because he runs the football, great defender. He's just got it all. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't kick the football. So he doesn't get those easy stats that Cleary and Hines actually accumulate. TCE, always been, in terms of durability, he's probably the best that we've seen.
Yes.
He's played like something like 11 out of 12 seasons with 20 plus games.
He might be doing more kicking.
He might be. He might be the little sneaky. He's at 1.8% there too, so kind of going under the radar.
Yeah.
But at the moment, given what we've spent 984K, we're probably looking for a more of a mid-range 600. Matt Vernon's going to be another great option there.
A lot of people are onto him. 718 feels a little high for mine, but I can see the appeal.
Jackson Hastings is the one that I think that we've all got to have a little look at here, Paulie. Close to 9% owner, which is quite surprising given kind of all the media coverage that he has had. Partners with Callum Ponga, which I find very interesting because I think next to Ponga, he'll be doing a lot of kicking.
Yes.
Given that Ponga's already injured, like originally I think they were intended Ponga to actually goal kick.
That could change. Change dramatically.
What I love about Hastings, 6'1". People don't realise how big he is.
Yeah.
He's a 95 kilo halfback.
Yeah.
Good defender, does slip off from time to time, but his running game, he's averaging over 100 metres running game, and he's very similar to Mitchell Pearce. They just love having their hands on the football.
Yeah.
I think the only downside is he's coming off that leg injury.
Yes.
So we've just got to be a little bit cautious, but I think in that mid-range, he'll be the first that I pick there.
We're getting close to our 13.
I think we've got to go for another lower half. So if we keep going, I really like Sam Walker, but unfortunately, because of the Roosters' early bye, I think there's other value in some other players. The guy that I'm looking for is Tanner Boyd.
So it looks like he's won the role, which means that, well, at $4.79, pretty good value.
Absolutely. And the other value, hooker, half.
So there you go, straight away there. You put him in and he's covering.
Perfect, number 14, right?
You talked about the Roosters' early bye. Well, there you've got the cover for that. We will be back with TK from the Talking League podcast to continue our series on picking your fantasy team for 2023.